a battle of the intellect. What does it take to chase down and eliminate the enemy king? It is more than just a chessboard. A chessboard is also a representation of a battlefield. In theory, the queen is the most powerful piece on the board, but when another factor comes into play, such as positional value, that theory may not hold up.
Chess Assassin presents
Dropping Tactical Bombshells. Another final thought is that the game of chess can be a tale of survival within the realty business. Now, without further ado, let's get started. What is the benefit of recognizing attacking patterns in chess? For now, hold that thought. Let's examine the game. White plays the queen to g4. Why do you think white plays the queen to g4? To attack the knight on d7? Or does white have some other hidden intention? Black replies with knight b6, and after knight to b6, then white continues with the move rook to h3. Now, most chess players who have been playing chess for a while should be familiar with this pattern. White intends to place the queen and rook on the h-file to create a battery, delivering checkmate. Queen to h4. And with the pawn on d5 being well defended by the knight and the rook, I was able to play f5 so that after queen h7 or queen h8, I would be able to step out to f7. And I'm safe. Next exercise. What is chess strategy? Chess strategy is the planning and conduct of the long-term objectives. Is black's next move a threat, check, or capture? Take a guess. It's a capture. Queen takes c3 check, followed by king e2. Is the next move by black a threat, a check, or capture? It's a capture. Queen captures on d4, followed by knight to b5, hitting the queen. What is the next move for black? Threat, check, or capture? It's a check. Queen to b2 check, and white interposes with queen d2. So what is the final move for black? Threat, check, or capture? And finally, it will be a capture. Queen takes on d2, and there's a trade. What about endgame planning? Strong chess players know about triangulation. What is it? A series of moves that places the opponent in Zu-swang. Hold that thought for later. Now, this game here illustrates typical patterns that we will often notice time and time again, and as we continue to play chess against many opponents, we will see these patterns so often that we'll automatically know. For example, here this is a queen's gambit decline, and if white takes on d5, then it is an exchange variation. After bishop g5, black defends the pawn on d5 with c6. This is the positional line. The first pattern I want you to recognize in black's setup is the pawn structure running from d5 to a8. Also notice the pawns that are on f7, the bishop on e6, and the pawn on d5. Recognizing such pattern, we already know that the idea is to challenge black on the light squares, which means to push the e pawn to e4. And the typical counter strategy for black is to find a post for the knight that will be close to white territory, such as either c4, d5, e4, g4, or maybe even a4. Another good thing about this game is that both sides demonstrate how to play on both sides of the board. Space on the queen side, the center, keeping the center under control, and also play on the king side. Okay, let's go ahead and conclude this example. After a few more moves, another pattern that you need to recognize is queen on b6. Black's queen on b6 aims directly at white's d4 pawn, which in this case is a backward pawn, a weakness for white, a liability. Now, black's counterattack on the queen side and center is effective here. Black gains tempo by knight b2, hitting the queen, and queen e2. And finally, knight takes on d4, forcing queen to e3 in order to guard against the discovery. And now knight d3 check, followed by knight takes b4. Finally, there's a trade. Now we reach the end game. Here we're not going to go through the entire game. We're just going to look at the opening sequence of moves after both knights are on f3 and f6. There's d4, knight f6, c4, or knight f3 followed by e6 and now c4. D5, knight to c3, and finally pawn to c5. Now this is a d41, Queen's Gambit decline, semi-Tarak defense. I will conclude with this final game illustration of dropping tactical bombshells. This game arises from a King's Gambit. In this position, notice the pawns on e4 and f4. It's understanding the purpose is to get the half-open f-file for an attack on the king side. Remember this pawn pattern. Pawn on c3 indicates that white wants to push the pawn to d4, gaining space in the center. In this position, white needs to hurry up and develop the other two pieces, the knight on b1 and the queen on d1, and swing a rook over to the half-open f-file. Not only does white have a lot of control over the central squares, but threatens to trap black's bishop on g6. Black's kingside pawns are tactical targets. White's bishops are aimed like rifles toward black's kingside, and the e-pawn is ready to go to e5. The idea is to force a concession and black's kingside pawn structure. Notice the weakness of the light squares. The moment has arrived. It is time for white to drop the tactical bombshell. Pawn to g5. This is the anyway variation. Following the piece sacrifice is a rook on g1, which x-rays the king on g8. White increases the pressure. Pawn to h6 is a pawn sacrifice. Get all of your pieces into the fight. Finally, white's last piece to bring into the battle. And white plays rook to g8, the game finisher, check, and there's only one way out of it. And white recaptures with pawn promoting to queen, checkmate.